in a year. Okay? And then notice how also you have 27 letters in the language, and when you times that by 2, you get 52. Right? Now think about this, some number sequences. And if for one moment, if you think that this numerology thing is a game, then I just showed you 2 things that maybe you possibly didn't know about how the tarot deck, the modern tarot deck, which is the one that's used in the United States by occultists, is 52 cards. And that 52 cards lines up to all the days in the week and all the weeks in the year. And the reason why that's done is because there has to be some kind of system or program to be able to manipulate things. So where we're at right now is that we are now in a card game where the Joker is being pulled, the Trump card, the wild card, because many people right now are just obliterated about how this could be happening to them, how that the world could elect a president and even a first lady. Like imagine now there's Melania Trump as a first lady. I mean, I can't even, I don't even get into the presidency, but I understand the game, and I'm gonna show you the game. I'm going to show you the game as we talk in this conversation and how it's all played. But the most interesting thing is when we watch basically 2 very artificial people take over the entire country, you're going to get the mannequin challenge. Basically, people are going to be frozen in their actions because they're going to be thinking about all this so much about what's going to happen. They're going to become basically petrified and frozen in fear if they don't listen to recordings like these and tap back into themselves and get out of the program. So here's what we're talking about. We're talking about that people had to understand that when they elected Barack Obama into office, that automatically set things up for Donald Trump to come into office, because after all, if the world can go pro-black, it's going to have to be able to go pro-white. So it's like the yin and the yang of the entire matter. But let's get even deeper. People have to realize that even since it's recorded in biblical times that when the people asked to have a king over themselves, what it actually created was it created a time to where all of a sudden everyone's freedom, even Godhead, who they thought was the Most High, was completely usurped by this leader. And that happens in when they bring in Saul. Okay, Saul is also known as salt in the occult. The salt has a hexagonal pattern similar to the pole on Saturn, and Saturn is known as that old king. Okay, so the system that you are under right now, unless you choose to eject from the matrix, which I hope you choose to do today, is completely Saturnalian. All right. And now for those who are still trying to figure out the difference between Saturn and Lucifer, both of these characters are the less and greater of 2 evils. And it doesn't matter what you think that they truly are and what you've been conned to believe that they are. There are groups that practice deep rituals to determine what those names and what those symbols actually mean. So when we're living in this era, the Luciferian and the Saturnalian occultism is what you actually seen in the White House just now, with Hillary Clinton playing the Luciferian feminine role, right? And then Donald Trump playing the satanic masculine divided role. Okay, so this is all of basically blue team versus red team at its best. And it's interesting because even when you're seeing all these publications come out like Dr. Strange, you can get an idea of how much occult knowledge the megastructure or industrial complex, which is the military and Hollywood, and how they work together. Ronnie Reagan, all the stars from, the false stars, Jay-Z, Beyonce coming in and trying to endorse and sending their power into this. But the goal is just to get you to vote. Okay? Because that's what was said, that out of all things, at this particular election, more people voted than ever voted in history. And this is obviously because of the influence of social media, and then how social media can get everyone commenting on things and everyone feeling like they're all a part of something, but still that something is being controlled by what put all of that in front of you, what created the internet. The internet was used by the military for 40, 50 years before it actually was released to the public. The entire internet is in the cradle of the military industrial complex as far as how everything is set up, just so you're aware. So what we're talking about here is we're talking about a grand play. And that's why it's known as the House of Cards, because when you see them put the mask on in the occult rituals, right? You know, like the one on Eyes Wide Shut, you know, you see the mask. Those masks are actually cognates of tarot cards, that you are to take on the role of that card. That's what they talk about in these books in the secret societies, right? So now Donald Trump is taking on the role of the Joker, the wild card, the one that nobody expected to win. And the actions that will now occur after this will completely be wild card and Jokerish. People will not expect some of the things to occur. So the reason why you have to get this conversation in your head and your consciousness today is because you need to realize that, hey, all this is another wake-up call like 9/11, another time to snap you out of the hypnosis, to let you know that this is not a game for you. This is a game that they're playing on you, but this is not something that you end up winning. It's not your game. You have to get completely out of this matrix. And how you get out of that is you actually begin to take your energy and divert it elsewhere, primarily towards yourself. So this is why you would need to do that. So because you had all these people who signed up for this new king, what you had go on is a thing that a lot of people are not aware of what the elections is all about. Why is it so important to get you to get out there and vote? If the House of Cards is as they say it is, and they choose who's going to be the president and they control things anyway, why are you so important? Your energy. There is a ritual that takes place. When you go to the ballots, okay, now the ballot is the female name of Baal. There's Baal, who's the old lord, the old king, and then there's the Baal's wife, the Baalat, right? So you go to the ballots. You cast your vote, okay? So casting is an occult term for when you actually project or direct your energy into something, like even like a fisher cast his line into the ocean, right? So now you cast your vote, okay? And then now what takes place is you must place your two-dimensional imprint, which is your signature. You must place your two-dimensional imprint into this system as a confirmation that on that level, which is two-dimensional, that's the lower planes, you agree to what's about to occur. You elect this king. Okay, so that's what that whole thing is really about. And then once that's done, on another level that most people never see because they don't have active third eyes, their RAN basically consents to this new rulership. So that's why that's necessary, because then once that happens, now all the energy of the people can be diverted into that. And this is so powerful about how the future is being written in the moment. We are also experiencing now one of the largest moons in 50 years. The super moon, as they call it, the beaver moon. And the reason why that's actually happening is because there's so much energy in the cloud, as it's called, so much thoughts and things going on prior to this election that now this full moon, people will reap what they sow. And this is like the whole thing with how the world works on that clock. Like a farmer, you don't plant during new moon. You plant closer towards full moon because that's when the plants are going to be abundant. That's when they're going to begin to sprout and to grow. So, you know, simple things, most simple things on the planet, the farmer knows. And in that, the farmer actually becomes the one who is the king of their own life, because they become sustainable. They become sovereigns. Instead of depending on the surrogate mothers and fathers to take care of you, you actually start tapping into your own power and allowing your power to take care of you. And this is something that we've been talking about for 6 or 7 years, about how to begin to go right into your body. Instead of eating their poisons and eating their candies and eating their fast foods and their GMOs, how to start to isolate in your neighborhood, in your little city or town or whatever, where those farmers are that are growing the right food so that you can become a human again. How you can actually still stay in the matrix in attendance to your job and whatever you may have to do until you can self-substantiate, but how not to get compromised by the matrix by steering conversations, understanding how to not keep your mind tuned into negativity. All these things we've been teaching and people have been learning in our faction for 7 years now. But now all those people know. And so don't email me about oh, what do we do now? Those people should know that now it's time for action. Now it's time for you to take yourself to that next level. And if you haven't cleaned out your body, if you haven't looked at these videos about this knowledge that are there, that are free, and then if you haven't jumped into the university and seen it as value to invest in a curriculum-based system that's going to teach you how to align your entire self and let you also understand what's going on in the world around you, then now it's time. It's time for you to invest in yourself, because this is what's going to happen. This same phenomena, the joker or the wild card, doesn't just apply to this government system. It doesn't just apply to these occultists. It applies to everyone. So if you want to be the joker and the wild card in the whole thing, and instead of you getting caught up and whipped around and screwed and drained by these energies, you decide to take that wild step into your own direction and decide to tap out of the whole thing and do something that is basically impossible. Do something that they did not expect. Do something to where you are moving in mysterious ways by all of a sudden just saying, you know what, I'm done. I'm dropping out. I'm tuning out of that and I'm tuning into myself. And that's what we're talking about here. I'm going to say a couple more things and then I want to get this out, because I've talked for years. I've put hours and hours of recordings into explaining to people what is going to happen. Knowing the future is not difficult. Preparing for the future is where the task is. So we've been sitting there preparing for the future. Do you know, I'm not preparing for Donald Trump's. Like, that was obvious of what was going to happen. There was going to be a wild card. If you understand the tarot that they're on, you know that their Trump card comes next. But the deeper part about this is that I'm actually preparing for AI and how we're going to have to deal with AI. So while people are whining to me about Donald Trump, I'm over here launching spirit tech. Like, for instance, this device, which I've created, it not only structures water, but it sends power back into water. And this is how it functions. And it has another apparatus that goes on the bottom that does something that you'll see if you happen to receiving one of these. And what you have in here, well, I'll leave for another conversation, but is basically how you can infuse power into your own body. Okay? So these are the things that we need to be focusing on. These are the things that we need to be doing. These are the things that we need to be creating. Because if we're, again, paying attention all the time to what is going on with these people, then we don't have that clear space in our consciousness to pull these inventions right out of the all-knowing space. And if you haven't heard any of my message before, I recommend that you check out this recent recording that I have called Halloween Hypnosis. So you could just for a moment start getting an idea and start grasping how deep the level of hypnosis is that most people are in. We're all in it. Even me, I probably am still about 2 levels under, while some people may be 20 or 200 levels under. So even when people email me right now and they ask me and they're all in this frenzy, it only proves to me more, especially if there's someone that I know, it only proves to me more how they actually haven't been listening to what I've been saying. This is not, again, about what's happening right now. It's about what's coming. And if we adjust ourselves properly, we are more than capable of actually creating an entirely different reality for ourselves. And if you don't believe that that's possible, you need to realize that there's people all around. You can't even call it a world anymore, right? Like, talk to flat earthers about that. There are people that are all around the vast consciousness that have chose to do that. Humans are not the only beings in the entire all existence. There's myriads of other beings, and how they choose to live their existence is based on the level and the control of their own mind and the collection and the consciousness of their own community and the resonance of what the people in that community want. And if you are following these dark lords and all these megalomaniac capitalists into the pit to fulfill their biblical